Well, good morning, everybody. And this is Margie here from Nature Health. For those of you that don't know me, my specialist area is I'm a lymphatic drainage specialist therapist, and I work with lymphedema patients, helping them to manage their conditions quite naturally. So this recording or this lecture or educational segment is going to be recorded because there are quite a few that couldn't get on the call, and the recording will be available on the lymphedema page. So what I plan to do with you today, I want to go through the top 10 tips for managing your lymphedema. We've touched on it in the past, but we'll just detail it. There are a few questions that were sent in by members of the group, and I will address those questions as well. With the holiday season upon us, what I felt was really important was to take a look at when you are traveling. What do you need to do to take a charge of your legs, your arms, your lymphatic system to keep it in a healthy state? And we here are into summer. So for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere who are going into winter, this is not as important, but your summer's coming too. So it's the sun. I want to do a touch on a little bit about the sun. I've got a few tips that you can just listen to and just bear it in mind when you're going about your normal business. So there's two things I want to touch on at the end, is how to avoid DVT and who is more at risk. And this is all about when you're traveling. Okay? To start with, let's have a look at my screen. So for those of you who don't know me, I have a website called Nature Health. And this section, you'll notice here on lymphedema, there's many, many categories there. How to boost your immune system, anti-inflammatory diet, lymphedema exercises. There's a whole lot of things in that category to help you manage your lymphedema better. So you just need to go onto NatureHealth.com.au and you can access all that information there's no charge or anything. There's no membership. You just pop in there and have a look. So with regard to what we're going to be looking at today, top 10 tips to manage your lymphedema well. So what's important? Activation of your lymphatic system and the pathways to the cell can help you reduce your oxidative stress, that's inflammation in the tissues, and increase the production of glutathione. And that also helps you reduce inflammation. So you'll notice I said there, NRF1 and NRF2. Well, this is the little product that I'm talking about. It's called Protandim. And this is how I take it every single day. So it's a little yellow pill like that. I pop it on my tongue, just like that. And I wash it down. I wash it down with activated liquid collagen. Now, of course, with lymphedema, it's really important to get the structure in the cells correct. And as we age, what happens? It starts to break down. And what this does, it helps our body produce more collagen. It's activated liquid collagen. And that helps support the structure in our legs and arms, etc. So I'll just finish that. And then the tip number 2 is elevation. Whatever is necessary, using high density foam blocks. So when people say they elevate, they pop their legs on some pillows and the legs drop into the pillows. That is not elevation. Elevation is when your legs, ankles are higher than your heart. 20 minutes walk daily. I cannot stress how important exercise is. Whether you swim, but I've put there a 20-minute walk because it takes 20 minutes to activate the lymphatic system. So if you walk for 15 minutes, you're not really getting the best result. Once you've activated your lymphatic system, which takes 20 minutes of a beautiful, gentle and rhythmic walk, because that's how the lymphatic system works. It doesn't have a heart to pump it like the blood. It works on the muscles, opening and closing the valves and suctioning and pushing the lymphatics through the system. So as we walk, we activate the lymphatic system. So I've said the regular manual lymphatic drainage massage. Why MLD, manual lymphatic drainage massage, is important is because we train our lymphatics to work in a certain way. In other words, to make new pathways if the pathways are damaged through surgery or whatever. So it's important to keep that pathway activated, and lymphatic drainage does that beautifully, whether it's once a month, once a week, every 2 weeks. I have some clients that come once a month, some clients I never see in winter, but in summer I see them regularly because with the heat, so the legs expand. Dry skin brushing daily. Now, I've talked about dry skin brushing many times. What dry skin brushing is, you take your dry bristle brush, not wet, not in the shower, before the shower, and you brush with a smooth action, starting at the neck to activate the lymphatics here, to start the lymphatics. And then you brush the arms, the legs. Again, it takes 20 minutes to activate that pathway. So put on some beautiful music and take it as a meditation of loving your body enough that you can do that for 20 minutes. And let me tell you, it puts your skin in such a better position. Not only does it activate the lymphatics, but it reduces your risk of getting cellulitis. So you'll see there that number 5 is skincare. So after you've had your shower, after you've done your skin brushing, that's when you put on your moisturizing cream, lotion, whatever. But note, non-toxic products. This is very important that you take time, read the label. Do not use products that have got all that toxic material in it, because that goes into the body and causes more inflammation. And we, with lymphedema and issues going on with inflammation in the body, we do not need that. Self-massage. So this is just a beautiful thing. As you moisturize your skin, you just self-massage all the limbs. Especially, don't forget that in your belly, your deep abdominal lymphatics are there. They also need to be activated. You'll see that on my website, low or inflammatory diet choices. So this is the recommendation by Dr. Neil Pillar from Flinders University, who heads up the lymphedema there and is an international lymphedema researcher. So it's really important that you just take a little look and make sure you're on the right plan with your eating habits. Exercise daily. Now that we've talked about swimming, possibly walking, but Qigong and Tai Chi are also fantastic. Now the rebounder, that's like a little trampoline. That is very, very good to activate your lymphatic system. And again, I won't repeat it again, 20 minutes is what is necessary. So number 10 is wear compression garments every day. So I hope that was a little bit helpful and allowed you an opportunity to look at some of the things that are going to be important for you. Now, because we are heading into the holiday season, travel is something we're all going to do, whether you travel by bus, whether you travel by car, long distance, whether you fly in economy in small cramped spaces. There are a few things that you can do. So the one thing that's really important when it comes to travelers who are at risk of having deep vein thrombosis, sometimes they call it economy class syndrome. How funny is that? But there are some simple little pointers that you need to be aware of. You might find there's a swelling that starts. There's a pain or a tenderness that you can't explain. The skin becomes a little bit warm. Usually it's in the calf. There's a redness on the skin. And sometimes it actually can throb as well. So Those are a couple of the symptoms that you are likely to experience. If it's pain, it's usually in the calf, sometimes in the upper thigh. Some patients also get pain in the chest. There could be a numbness and weakness down the one side, because most often deep vein thrombosis, DVT, is only in the one leg. So that side will be a little bit numb, and there'll be certainly some pain attached to it. Another thing to look out for is a sudden change in your mental state. So maybe you're not thinking as clearly. Maybe there's a sudden anxiety that happens, but it's a sudden change in your mental state. Now, these are just a couple of tips to avoid. So when you sleep, what is the best? Now, I'm specifically talking about lymphedema patients and when you're traveling and before you fly, all of those kind of things. It's best to sleep on your left side. Now, why is that? Because it keeps the pressure of your internal organs in the right place, promotes the healthy flow of blood. So that helps you prepare for a long flight. So consciously go to sleep on your left side. You'll find you actually sleep better than when you sleep on your right side. Now, how can you test if you think you might have DVT or might have developed it on the trip or after the trip? Lie flat on your back. Lift the affected leg where you feel it could be occurring. Now, you know when you flex and point your ankle. When you do that, if you get like a pinprick in a very specific place, the same place, every time you point and flex, that's a symptom that it's possible that you might have developed DVT. Now, that little test is called the Kimmel test. So it's a guy in America, and it was just a very simple way to check if it's necessary to go to the doctor. And if that is a yes, you definitely go and see your doctor. The second tip, don't stand or sit in one place for any length of time. Get up and walk around. The other thing is, very important, do not wear tight clothing. Tight clothing around your waist, it stops the lymphatic system. Do not wear tight clothing like panties tucking into your groin. Nice loose panties, right? Do not smoke. If you are a smoker, for 2 weeks before you fly, please cut down on your smoking, because that is a high risk category. Now, exercise is important. So now what I do when I fly, for the last 20 minutes before I fly, before I board the plane, I just walk up and down. People think I'm mad. I just walk up and down and up and down and up and down. Light, gentle exercise. What that does, it increases circulation and your lymphatic system. So that by the time you get on the plane, your lymphatic system is still working, right? So that's really important. Now, the other thing to do is, how do you avoid DVT? As I said to you, taking Protandim, NRF2, gets rid of inflammation. It reduces oxidative stress by 40% in 30 days. That's a fact. It's scientifically proven. But what is very important is that you take a look at buying yourself a pair of proper graduated compression garments. Now, I just want to share the screen for just a quick moment, because I've got something I would like to share with you. So the company that I use for my clients is a company called Medi. They're a German company, but they have an office here in Sydney. Fantastic. So they call them travel socks. So I just thought I'd share this page from their website, and it's called Medi Australia. And if you're in Germany, it would be Medi Germany, and the same in most other countries. I know Medi's all over the world. So travel socks are really important. The graduation starts at the toes and moves up the leg. So it's tightest around the ankle and looser as you get up to the knee. And that is why, and I must tell you a little story here. I'll just finish that and then I'm going to tell you a little story. So travel socks are really important because the cramped journey on an aircraft or in a car, that's a price people pay when they arrive, their legs are heavy, they're swollen, their ankles start to increase, and that is the risk of thrombosis. So compression garments, what Medi call them, they call them the Medi Guardian Angel on journeys. So sitting and being motionless on buses, trains, aircraft, whatever, it means the blood starts to pool. And that is when the veins are not able to pump the fluid or the blood, and obviously it's getting pumped in the direction of the heart. But that, coupled with the low air pressure on the aeroplane, results in the legs swelling and becoming very tired, and that high risk category. So what I'd like to suggest is these are just some things that you can do to avoid. Move around the plane. Very important. If you choose an aisle seat, it's easy for you to just even get up and stand next to your seat and do some exercises, swing the legs, lift the knees, etc., etc. Which if you're sitting in the middle seat, it's not easy to do. And if you're sitting on a window seat, that's even worse. The other thing is do calf muscle exercises. So you're just sitting with your knees bent, legs straight, foot flat, and you just lift onto the tippy toes and down. Lift onto the tippy toes and down. And if you can find a little raised area, you drop your ankle down and up, down and up. And that is what we call calf muscle exercise. And that keeps the blood moving through the calf. Another little tip when you're traveling, if you can get onto your plane, your seat early. In other words, this is what I do. I go to the air hostess and I say, I'm at risk of DVT. Please, may I go onto the plane immediately after the wheelchairs because I need to get myself ready for my legs. And they always say yes. So all the wheelchairs go and the handicapped and all of that. And then I go. And what do? I put my hand luggage, besides your big one that you put on top, if I've got a handbag or something, I keep the area under the seat in front clear. Because when you put that other bag, because they say, oh, put it in front of you under your seat. Now, that is really not, especially in economy. That means your legs are cramped and you can't stretch them out in front. And you can't even do this and this and this and this, which is what I do when I'm traveling. So that will avoid the restriction of the movement. Another thing is, do not get dehydrated because you want that circulation to continue. Please reduce or zero the alcohol. That also interferes. Try and have as little caffeine as possible. And I already said to you about walking for 20 minutes before. The other question is, people say, oh, have an aspirin. What does aspirin do? Yes, it will help prevent you getting a DVT because it will thin the blood. But it does not help break down a clot that has already formed. So if you decide you want to have an aspirin before you fly, well and good. But if you've already got or you suspect you've got it, the aspirin is not going to help. So who is at risk of getting a DVT when we fly? Those people who are bedridden, right, who are in a wheelchair. Those people who are sedentary, who are not exercising that 20 minutes every day. Overweight. If you've recently had surgery or you've broken any bones recently. If you have a history of stroke. If you've had COVID-19. And all people over the age of 55. So you can very clearly go to the air hostess as you board the plane before they start boarding and say, I am at risk. I need to go on the plane first so I can prepare myself for the flight. And I promise you, it'll work every time. If you have varicose veins, you are a little bit high risk of getting DVT because the lymphatics and the blood are not working at full tilt. If you have a current malignant condition, then you are also at risk. So those are the at-risk issues that might occur. Now, I thought I'd just answer a couple of the questions that some of our members have brought through. The one was, how fast does a blood clot travel from the leg to the lungs? So what happens if you get a blood clot and a part of the blood clot breaks off and then travels towards the lungs? That's when you get a pulmonary embolism. Now, that is serious. So if you think you've got a clot or deep vein thrombosis, it's important to address it immediately. So the question they asked was, how fast? Well, it can travel very fast. On the other hand, it can travel quite slowly. It can take a week, it can take a couple of weeks for it to dissolve. And then it might not even travel. But obviously, the sooner you have it addressed, the better. The second question, should I take aspirin if you suspect a blood clot? So taking aspirin is an option, but as I mentioned earlier, if you've already got the clot, no, it's not going to help. Does the pain go away in the leg? This is another little tip. If the pain does not go away, you can almost definitely say it's a DVT. Because if it's just a little cramp or a muscle that's strained or something like that, as you stretch and as you do your exercises, that pain will go away. DVT, the pain does not go away. So that's a good thing to look at. I've only got 2 more questions. Should I take ibuprofen? Well, do not take any over-the-counter drugs. Please go and see your doctor immediately. And by taking ibuprofen, what happens there is it may, which of course is a blood thinner, it may cause internal bleeding. You want to avoid that at all cost. So what do you do if you think you've got a deep vein thrombosis from traveling, or usually it's from traveling? And it can also be after surgery, but we're talking about us with issues with the lymphatic system, traveling, flying, high temperatures, long hours in the plane, etc., etc. What do we do? The best thing to do is go and see the doctor immediately. That's what you need to do. So I hope those few little pointers were helpful. I'm going to be doing a call like this, highlighting a very specific aspect of areas of lymphedema over the next 12 months. We'll just hone in on a particular issue. And the story I wanted to tell you was when I flew back from South Africa just a couple of weeks ago, there were 21 wheelchairs on the flight from Cape Town back to Sydney. And do you know what? They all had swollen ankles before they even got on the plane. And of those, how many do you think were wearing compression garments? 2. And the one lady who had really big legs, I said to her, because she had sandals on, I said to her, are you not traveling with compression garments? She said, oh, they're in my bag. I said, sweetheart, you must go and put them on. And she showed me them. She went and scuffled around in a bag and found it. They were garments that came from her full length all the way up to the top of her legs. Well, that's useless. It's going to cut off the top of her legs. That's what we don't want. Special flight stockings are only up to below the knee. That's all that's required to stop and prevent deep vein thrombosis occurring when you've got a problem with your lymphatics or whatever it is. So anyway, so I said to her, you know what you really should do? You should go and cut those stockings off and put them up to your knees. Anyway, she didn't. She traveled all the way like that. I don't know what happened because the plane was so full. But the other thing is, one of the other ladies asked, she said, oh yes, I've got the stockings that they gave me in hospital. Well, the stockings that they give you in hospital are not suitable. They don't have the graded compression that is required from the toe to the ankle, so that at the top, you can see it's pretty loose. But here, it's really, really tight. So it's really important. I also do not recommend that you go to your local pharmacy shop. Some of them do have it, but you need to get the right size. And it's very simple to measure. It's the size of your ankle and the length of your calf. That denotes what size fright stocking you require. Okay, in closing, the summer's almost upon us, and I want to share just this little tip. What happens with this beautiful sun on our lymphatics? Please cover up. And it doesn't actually mean using sun cream. Sun cream is for cancer prevention, right? Skin cancer prevention. But when it comes to our lymphatic system, if you are going to be out in the sun before 10 o'clock, after 3:34 in the afternoon is fine. But in that middle of the day, please make sure your feet are covered, because you know how close to the surface of your skin are your lymphatics. It's just under the surface of your skin. And I'll tell you what happened in South Africa. I was very naughty. I fell asleep in the sun on the beach. It was the most beautiful day, and I just was tired from the trip out there. I fell asleep, and my little foot, my one foot, was not covered, and I got sunburnt. And you know what happened? For the next week, the ankle was a little bit swollen, and the next week, all the skin peeled off my foot. So please, I mean, I know better, but I didn't even protect my one foot that was outside because I covered up with a sarong, but my foot was out exposed to the sun. So please, take good care. Have a beautiful summer. It's now on the run down to Christmas, and I'm wishing you blessings for you and your family for a wonderful Christmas, and I'll catch you in January. Bless you.